Good morning. Constance and I had the pleasure of going to New Wineskins, which is a global conference held every 3 years. This year's was my first. The theme this year was Better Together. It was a spirit-filled week. The first night we walked into the assembly hall where flags from at least 52 nations were hanging from the second floor balconies. The flags represented the countries where attendees were from or were serving. The praise music each morning and evening was beautiful. It was glorious to hear 2,000 people singing praises to our mighty God. Mealtime gave us opportunities to meet people from all over the world. We were able to hear personal stories of sacrifice and strength in serving the Lord. One divine appointment was with Donna Soul's friend, Sandy Harding. Donna had asked for us to try to look her up. Well, we just happened to be sitting with her at breakfast one morning and discovered our connection. Had to take a picture for Donna to prove that we did in fact see Sandy. So don't we have a great God? Another meeting, I just happened to walk up or run into Bishop John Guernsey and thanked him for his gentle shepherding of Light of Christ during Mike's illness. We also ran into Archbishop-elect Stephen Kazimba. Spending time with believers on fire for Jesus fueled my own belief. Once again, the theme, Better Together. One of my favorite times during the conference was the Eucharist Sunday morning. Children of the attendees processed waving flags of the nations. Our bishop's wife, Meg, was helping shepherd them in. Then the bishops processed. It was magnificent. Many bishops were there. They filled 3 rows of seats in the assembly hall, and that didn't include the archbishops who were the celebrants on stage, including Foley Beach, Ben Kawashi, and Stephen Kazimba. There were several others as well. It was all very moving. Our God is great and powerful and worthy of praise.
Well, I too, this was my 4th New Wineskins. And from the first one that I went to, I knew I wouldn't miss a one. It's just such an opportunity to be with like-minded people. And the power in that and the power in the prayer was just so amazing. And throughout the entire conference, every speaker, each day, there were speakers in the morning and speakers in the evening. And then throughout the day, there were what they called MAP classes that you could go to on all different kinds of subjects of things you might be interested in. And at each one, every time they talked about what they were doing or anything, that thing of prayer kept coming up. And these people that are there, some of them come from the most difficult situations that you could ever imagine. And to look at what they're going through with their churches being burned down and other things like that, it's just incredible that their spirit is amazing. I mean, they are so joyous in the Lord, and all these adversities that are going on in their lives, both personal and community and church, it doesn't seem to faze them. In fact, it seems to give them an energy that's incredible, and you can't help but catch it. And so it was just amazing. One of the MAP classes or groups that I went to was right before the conference started, and it was a Eucharist for the nations. The room was way too small, but we managed to have Eucharist in there. But this Eucharist, the liturgy, is praying for all the different nations that were there. And then as we went through the prayers, we took the communion knowing that in that communion, God was going to heal the things that weren't right, that he was going to get those things to the place that he wanted to for his glory. And it was just amazing. It just blew you away. It was like you didn't want to leave when it was over. You know, you wanted to stay in the company of all these people who were just so in tune to God. And I can't enough stress the praying together. You know, one of the speakers was, and that might have to be taken out of the video. Well, this was the day that we were praying. And he said, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he knew that it was the prayers that the reason he was still there. And so it was like, that was just one story. There were stories after stories after stories. And all of them said one thing: you don't realize the power you have. And the power we have in our churches, in the seats, in the pews, are it's more powerful than an atomic bomb or anything else. And they urged us in all sessions to continue to pray. And so for me, that was really the powerful thing about that. And I just hope that we will continue to pray more as a group, maybe even have times that we get together and pray, because I do believe it's power. You know, every day we walk anywhere into any group and we start hearing what's going on horrible with the world. How many people are sick in our own congregation, and this, that, and the other. And I think sometimes we forget that he gives us that power. And so I hope that we will take that more serious and really believe with all our hearts, like these people did and do. And we saw it in each and every one. We sat with a bishop one morning who, in the middle of his service, it was on Easter Sunday, they came in and wanted to take him out because they felt that there was a sniper in the congregation. And he had been targeted along with the cardinal for the Catholic Church to be killed. And, he said, no, I can't go. I'm in the middle of communion. And he made them wait. He wasn't going. And he said, I'll say a prayer before I leave. And he said he prayed the longest prayer he's ever prayed at a communion service. And he's still walking around. They wanted to have a guard be with him all the time. He refused it. He said, no, I'll allow you to put a guard at the church, at the door, so they could check people in, so hopefully to give protection for the people. But he said, no, I have someone who protects me who is far greater than anyone else. So, Lord, I just encourage you. The next one will be in 3 years, and I just encourage you to go home, put it on a calendar, and say 2 more to go at the end of this one, and start saving your money and go, because I got to tell you, it's the experience of a lifetime. And, it doesn't make any difference what age you are. Believe me, yeah, it's a little bit harder getting around to places, but Anna and I found all the ramps and all the elevators and everything. But there were people there that were in their late 80s and 90s, and one day I walked to one of these sessions with one of these gentlemen, and I couldn't believe it. He was far ahead of me going towards this. We also, AFM had a time with our cross-culture workers where we invited a lot of the donors in, or actually any donors who wanted to come to were coming to New Wineskins were invited. And each cross-culture worker had 15 minutes. And the people that came to that said, wow, you know, we need to go home and reassess our budget and how much more we can give, because every one of these cross-culture workers were amazing, and what's amazing happening there. Muslims are coming, I don't care what you hear about anything, Muslims are coming to Christ in the thousands. In Europe, they said, well, probably what's going to happen is because the Muslims that are coming to Christ are so dedicated and now want to go out and be disciples, that they're probably going to be bring the lapsed Christians back into the churches. So God is doing marvelous things. No matter what you hear on the radio, no matter what you hear in the news, just be assured God is getting us to where he wants his kingdom to be. And we can speed it up a bit if we would just dedicate ourselves more to prayer. So thank you. I hope that I'll encourage each one of you to come. And the other thing is that I found at New Wineskins that we're very blessed here on the Northern Neck in that we can go to Synod. That's where all of our churches within our diocese can come together. That's where when a new church is planted and they finally are brought into the communion, you'll see that happen. And we can attend that. November 15th. Begins our synod, and it's the night of November 15th and then all day on Saturday. So I hope you'll also think about that. It's an opportunity to be with Christians of like mind and us all go and pray together. So I thank you.